All right, everybody. Lake Station community advocate and educator back again. New quote and part 2 of Tif District. This is power and, well, where the money goes and who has the power and some of those things. But if you don't know, go check out some of my other videos. This will be part 2 on Tif. It's a tax increment funded district. Do some comparisons and contrasting and start asking some questions, people, because things are starting to add up a whole lot in our community. And so don't let me blabber too much. Go check out Lake Station Community Advocate right here. And on Facebook, go check out Lake Station Strong Towns Collective on Facebook. Go check out Lake Station Strong Local Conversations on Facebook. Soon a YouTube and a website. So, I got all that going. And let me roll with this. But you guys know that I love quotes. And this is by William Faulkner. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice, lying, and greed. If people all over the world would do this, it would change the earth. But with no further ado, let me start on that TIF. All right. So, well, power and who has it, where the money goes, and so on and so forth. The state regulates and enables the TIFs, the tax increment funded districts, okay? Permissible to use TIF proceeds, okay? The state regulates this for the towns and the cities and things like that. And the towns and the cities must report all activities to the state. But the state gives local authorities to kind of create some elements within their own TIFs. The state kind of restricts TIF funds for things like public infrastructure, like water, sewer, electric, lighting, things like that. You know, the police department, fire department, the schools, those are part of the infrastructure, believe it or not. Public structures, roads, sidewalks, water, sewer, that's kind of more of the structure part. To help them prepare land, like say if there's some decontaminating or reclaiming of the grounds or just empty lots, private buildings for people that's private, land purchases, and interest costs with private finances, okay? Now, TIFs are very generous loans, basically, for property owners within the TIF district. So if a company, a corporation, a friend, a crony, whoever it is, brings in their business, wants to build some homes, wants to start a small corporation, put in a new gas station that you don't really need, things like that, it's a really good, generous, hefty loan. But the problem is, it comes with a whole lot of debt and a whole lot of problems. And like I've said before, don't take my word. This is open information. Anybody can go Google and research this stuff and find really great resources about TIF districts and about the pros and the cons. And I'll guarantee you the cons far outweigh the pros. Well, and because they're generous loans, there's a pecking order as to how the loans get paid back. And the first thing on the list is you're paying back that loan, that debt, that bond for the TIF. So the TIF and the subsidies that you get. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or however many you have, and well, you're getting kind of really large sums of money, you got to pay them back first. Then you're able to, once they get their money back, it releases the town from the strongholds of that loan. It's kind of like buying a car or a house. Once you get a loan, you're in debt, it's got to be paid off. So instead of fixing windows, fixing cars, fixing this, fixing that, your money has to go on paying off that loan for that TIF district. So again, the schools, the infrastructures, police department, fire department, sewer, things like that don't get focused on. So things actually fall apart all over while the TIF funds are focused on a small part of your whole town. And so some of the local revenue implications, meaning the bad stuff, is the TIF comes at the expense of the schools, the fire department, like I said, the police department, and things like that. Now, the city gains power, the city, and those that are in those positions, they're the ones who gain the power to collect and control the funds that should go to the schools and things of that nature. That's how these work. You can look this up. Indiana State actually has a really good information and about 70 slides on this, so it's really good. You can check that out. But basically, it's a intergovernmental free lunch day. They can do and just start dipping into the funds whenever, however they want. Because remember, folks, with these TIF districts, you can go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Will they be alive in the next 30 years, 20 years, maybe 50 years? Probably not. So guess what their hands are going to be doing? They're in that cookie jar. Now, TIFs have three ways proceeds flow. Okay? Debt service, pay as you go, and a tax rebate TIF. Basically, with debt service, the first one, the city borrows money, issues TIF bonds and debts. Okay? Tax income in TIF districts are used basically to pay off that bond. Basically, new taxes and such. So any new supposed growth that's being professed to everybody, that all goes to pay off that immediate new TIF debt. The pay-as-you-go is, well, you kind of simply pay this back slowly to the company, developer, the corporation, kind of like year-to-year payments, right? And then there's the tax rebate TIF, which is basically a tax abatement. So a company pays the tax, incentives, and then the city promptly repays the company. And again, no money can be spent on things like the school, the roads, the parks, the fire department, the police department, and other things. It has to be specifically focused on the TIF debt bonds. But this is kind of where things can get skewed, because under certain circumstances, yes, TIF money can be paid for that, for some of those things, but not at the rate that most people are professing that it will, and not at the rate that it's going to make substantial changes to the schools and everything else. And by all means, the city is supposed to be posting this stuff, this information, on their website online about TIF info, district by district as well, and parts by parts of the town. But basically, the community's looking at, like, it's always force-fed to us, as we're supposed to be looking at the bark and not the force that's behind that dog. Meaning, we're not looking down the road, we're looking in front of us. And we ought to be looking down the road. Like I said, these TIF, these bonds and things like that can last up to 50 years and then some. And yes, you can get more than one. But I want to ask this: if you cannot trust local officials to post about something simple and simple information about council meetings and their times and their dates, can you trust them to be so very open about where the money's going, who's getting it, in a TIF district, and the taxes, and where it's truly going to? They seem to be knocking it out of the park with the school referendum, aren't they? And while the state keeps good records of this, to an extent, we have to depend upon good people and good database provided to us, which basically means that information gets manipulated all the time to make the books look good, but they're really not. Because the state poorly tracks and doesn't really pay too close attention to what's actually truly going on in the TIF district, so it's kind of left to local government officials to kind of distinguish what is being and saying. Again, if you can't trust your local authorities and your administrators to be truthful, honest, transparent, and to be held accountable in this big matter, what makes you think they're going to be honest in small matters? But unlike Station Community Advocate, be the change you want to be. Be an eagle, don't be a crow. Challenge the status quo, because if you don't, you'll never know. And go check out Lake Station Strong Towns Collective on Facebook, Lake Station Strong Local Conversations on Facebook, as well as pretty soon to be YouTube and website, by the way. And check out some of my other videos. Stay with me for part number 3, 4? Who knows? We're going there.